So BTC still floating around the 60K level. We've had up, we've had down. It's been choppy all day long. But what we do know is we've got a massive week in store for us. And is this massive bull run that we're looking at on some of these altcoins going to be triggered in the next 24 to 48 hours? There's a lot to talk about here today, guys. We've seen a lot of our altcoins already hit our DCA zones, and I've got banging setups teed up for you guys and follow-up trades as well. And I'm also bringing in an indicator expert. He's going to tell us exactly what we're looking at for the week ahead. So much to talk about here today, guys. Let's get right into this. And remember, if you are enjoying the content, hit the like, hit the bell, hit the subscribe, and always keep Ray happy. When he doesn't have his goggles on, I get a little bit nervous here. Maybe it's because he missed the 𝗓𝗪𝗏 that we caught yesterday. Guys, answer that poll that I'm running here in the chats. I want to know what you're thinking about 𝗓𝗪𝗏. Okay, banter bubbles. What is going on here and what is happening? Look at SUI, 15% up. There's lots of chatter around SUI at the moment, and this makes sense to me. Then we've got SAY up 9%. Now remember, not too long ago, these two were running in tandem together. So nice to see SAY picking up a little bit of steam here, and then 𝗪𝗡𝗔𝗏 waking up 3%. Do we even still talk about that thing? And 𝗓𝗪𝗏, look at that banger. We got that little banger in the Sniper Club live session yesterday. I'm going to show you exactly how we took that trade. I'm going to show you exactly why we took that trade. I've got a masterclass coming for you guys today, so stick around. There's tons for us to discuss here. Now, what are we looking at BTC here on the 4-hour? And just before we went live, I said to Ray, are we going to get rinsed here? Because I'm sitting in a BTC bounce long from just now on Prime XBT, and I was going to say, is this going to be another round trip here for us and turn this thing over? So look at this brutal candle that we've got here on the 4-hour. They've really played some games for us. If you've been trading leverage, you've most likely now been slapped around in the last 24 hours. Things have been super volatile here. I did a little round trip on Solana about an hour ago. Things were looking really pretty rosy at one point, and they came back and stopped me out back at entry with these wicks. So definitely not for sissies at the moment. But what am I watching now? BTC on the 4-hour, we can see what's going on. We've got our big support zone. This is unchanged from yesterday. This is this 57.5 to 57K level. This is still a big zone, and I was dropping in the Sniper Club today saying I still want to see the 382 fib tested. I don't like that they have front run this thing now twice in the last 24 hours. So I still want to see that little dip into the 57K. Naturally, we have had moments where we front ran these types of zones. It happens, obviously, but generally, we like to have BTC fib before we can call some kind of bottom of a move or some kind of bottom on a pullback. So right now, my eyes are locked in here. 57K, watching this, anything up to 57.5. And that is a zone that I would like to see revisited. Now, on the upside, you can see we are now reclaiming this 59.5. Now, that is that exponential moving average on the 200-day that I was talking about earlier this week. That is actually floating around just around this level here. So interesting for us that BTC is busy trying to claim that right now. That is something interesting there to be looking at. And then upside resistance, no changes here. 62K, that is still our banger resistance zone. That is still the zone, the danger zone that we need to look at, we need to watch, and we need to watch cautiously here. So 62K, any moves into that zone, exercise caution, especially if you're sitting in longs with altcoins and those types of things. We really want to see an aggressive pop now of that area and a nice clean break. We've had 2 rejections there on that zone. The next one, we need to see a big clean break of that area, and then we maybe start getting a little bit bullish if we get a nice little break there of that zone. So 62K for me, bottom side 57 to 57.5, eyes on that. And right now, look, interesting looking candle. And you can see here, this is why I had some squeaky bum time. I was saying to Ray, as we went live there, these candles turned red. And I was like, fuck, am I going to get stopped out here on this little round trip? So watching BTC closely, you can see I'm long half of BTC now. My stop is 58,800. I've moved it just below my entry. I don't want to have a situation here where we do a round trip and you actually lose on that round trip. So right now, watching this zone, my stop is 58,800. You can see it's just under this little horizontal zone. So ideally, we want to see this thing hold. If they are going to push us lower, I want to see that sort of play out there for me. So if we start losing that zone, I'm going to jump out. We'll have to figure it out as we go along. But that is that, and that is the current game plan. Now, what is happening in the news? This is the big week, okay? This is a proper big week for us, and we know we've got two massive market movers. Number one, the starter. It's like a little starter portion here, a little bowl of soup for us tomorrow. It's the PPI coming out tomorrow. That always causes some kind of issue in the market, and maybe a pump issue or a dump issue, but it definitely gives us something. And then CPI on Wednesday. That is the big one. That is what everybody is now waiting for. Okay, things we need to consider here is, if we start pumping into the CPI, do we now turn bullish, or do we have to turn short-term bearish on a CPI pump? If we start dumping into CPI, well, I can tell you what I'll be doing. I'll be looking for some banging entries off these 618s and these 382s on these altcoins. So something to watch for. I'm obviously going to keep you posted now during the week while we lead into CPI. But right now for me, pump into CPI, we're looking to take profits. Dump into CPI, we're looking for entries. We are looking for some leverage trades and things like that off some solid zones. So that is what I'm watching today. We've got 24 to 48 hours of proper volatility incoming here for us. So things are definitely going to be spicy, and it's a massive moment here. If the market likes what the CPI gives, I think we churn higher, and I think we start ripping. So a lot to look forward to. And then 𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗬𝗘𝗥, he's got a nice little post here for us, just helping us a little bit, telling us, maybe the CPI is going to be good. Maybe it's going to be a good number. Look at this. Gas prices in the US have moved down to $3.45 per gallon. Okay, nice little 10% decline from a year ago. Okay, that is good. Okay, that is looking pretty decent here for CPI numbers. So that's a nice little factor to consider. But then I did see this little tweet here today from Game of Trades, and he's basically saying credit card interest rates have skyrocketed to 21.5%. Credit card debt record highs. The consumer is heading for trouble. He's basically saying just hold on. Okay, things are looking a little bit intense out there. So a little bit of a balanced view here. It's nice to see that the gas prices are dropping and things like that. So there is some positivity on the horizon. And what is the S&P, or what are the S&P traders thinking at the moment? So you can see they actually started the day pretty strong. We opened up pretty green, and now a couple of red candles coming out here on the S&P. And we saw the same with BTC. We had a nice green pump there after market open, and now a little bit of a close here, and we are turning red, a little bit of a turnaround. But S&P, for me, no stress here. I'm still looking for this gap close higher up, anything up to 5,400, and I would love a push into the 50-day MA. Wouldn't that be a nice little move into PPI, into CPI, things like that? Maybe a little pump into a little rejection zone could be interesting for us. And then we've also got this confluence here. We've got a little trend coming down here. So for me, S&P 500, 5,450, big level there for me, looking to close this gap as well. But all is well from that front. Okay, we're still bouncing after that whole Japanese disaster that we had last week. Okay, Bitcoin Magazine just reminding us. They're saying here, are you actually paying attention? Okay, Bitcoin's year-to-date net flows hit an all-time high of $19 billion. Okay, things are cooking out there, if you hadn't noticed, from a BTC front. And this is also why we're bringing in an expert, an indicator expert here. He's going to come in here just now and join us. He's getting ready. He's getting teed up. And he's going to talk to us about where we are on the weekly and what he is seeing on BTC. So Power Friend is on his way in shortly. And Matthew Highland just reminding us that BTC is setting up the same way it's set up last year, heading into Q4, as well as how it's set up in election years 2012, 16, and 20. The key point here is every August, we found a bottom before trending upward, heading into Q4. Okay, now that makes sense. We've got a beautiful candle down there at 49K for BTC. We're going to take a look now at this weekly. And then Quinton reminding us that the consolidation comes before the explosion. Look at this man's chart. I mean, if this isn't bullish, I don't know what is, but he's basically, he wants to send us to 360K. I mean, maybe he's being a little bit aggressive here, but the man's got a valid point. Take into account these charts that he is throwing at us like that with absolute disdain. Okay, let's look at BTC on the weekly, and let's call in a weekly expert. Okay, here is the man. This is Power Friend from Easy Algo. It's our in-house indicator here. And welcome to the zone, Power Friend.
Thanks for having me again. My second round, and hopefully second of many, many more.
So round number 2, always pleasant having you here. Always great to get your view. So in a nutshell, what can we tell in a nutshell? What is Easy Algo in a nutshell?
Well, Easy Algo is a price action leading indicator platform. We have a massive community, 1,500 members, 2 2 verified trainers training four live trainings a week, sometimes up to 8. We do community chats daily after each training. In addition to every Sunday night, we do our weekly pivot party, which we had the trifecta party last time I was on. We were lucky. And we basically, we have the indicator has the ability to be able to tell the future. It's a price action indicator, gives us an advanced understanding of what's coming into the market for the next week. We look for the best tokens to trade on Sunday, knowing that we're going to get narrow compression and narrow pivots, high volatility in those assets, 1, 2, maybe even 3 days that coming up week. So our traders are all prepared and ready by Sunday to look at what's going through Monday, trading Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for successful trades. Almost, we're 9 weeks in a row on the pivot party, and we haven't failed yet.
So you heard the man. If you like parties and you like pivots, well, this is where you need to go. Okay, so talk to us about where are we on the weekly? What are we looking at? Tell me about monthly and weekly pivots here on BTC. If you want, just drop your screen in here. Let's take a look.
Should be there.
Tell us what you're looking at here. Okay, I'm going to share your screen here for us. There we go. Okay, cool.
Well, last week we all know what happened. That was my actual birthday, August 4th, and I had been calling this hitting 52 and hitting that fair value gap since April. If by Zoom mode,
happy birthday?
It was a perfectly happy birthday. I took it off. I just walked away from the charts for the weekend. I wasn't even there. No trades.
It was messy.
But that coincided with what we were doing with our pivot group last week, and there was only two in the entire market, 2 narrow pivots. So it was a sign that this wasn't going to be a great week to come, and it was true. Coming into the end of last week, coming into Saturday, we saw this this bearish pennant pattern coming in. Our group called it. We saw it coming. It hit perfectly into the bottom of the monthly pivot, middle of the weekly pivot. We all caught that 6% move. Those that took the trade, that 6% move to the downside for a good short, loaded up our bags to get ready for coming into this week. We have been below the weeklies consistently for about a month. And this is the first in that group that we finally finding ourselves starting the week out above the weekly pattern. If you look into today, it's just slightly below the daily, but we got the pump off of resistance or off support 1 coming up through, popped above the daily, just retesting on the bottom of the daily. And, it's still looking good. As long as we're above the weekly on the 1 hour higher time frame, we consistently trade for longs. So BTC is still looking trade along.
This ties in quite nicely with what we've been looking at here. So we've been looking at these pullbacks and things like that. I'm relieved to see this pullback has now held the weekly pivot. Okay, that's a great start from my perspective of what we're looking at. So yeah, you teeing up for longs and Easy Algo looking for longs, and that's pretty much the sentiment where we are at leading into this week. Obviously, we can be proven wrong, and we can lose pivots, and we can lose levels. But right now, we use these as a guide, and looks like we're in the same direction. Now, I'm going to bring Power couple of minutes because he's going to talk to us about a trade we took earlier or yesterday, Celestia. He's going to talk to us about that one. Then he's also got another banging setup that hasn't blown up yet, and we suspect it could be a popper. So stick around, okay? If you like pivots and you like parties and you like setups that print, okay, hang around. This man's coming back. He's going to talk Celestia with us. Okay, we're going to see you in 2 minutes. Okay, let's get into some of these altcoins. And number one, please answer my poll here for me in the chats. I have fired up here, and it says, do we like Celestia again, Raymond? Yes, 31%, 36% hate it, 32% love Sui. Now, you guys are in luck because I'm talking about Sui today, and it might be getting a little bit hot. So I've got that Sui chart wrapped and ready for you guys as well. And Celestia, I'm sad to hear that Ray didn't take the Celestia trade. I did. Okay, last night, there it is. I took it on ZoomX, and I took the setup that we were looking at. Me and DJ and Dave were doing a live session on Sniper Club, and here's that Celestia trade that's teed off. I have added to it a little bit, so my average entry slightly wrecked here, but it is churning up slowly. So we're going to look at that one shortly. I'm going to give you guys the full breakdown as to why we took that, how we took that, and all those types of things. Okay, let's get into the altcoins. Let's fire this off. Yesterday, I spoke about this TD sequential indicator telling us dominance was potentially going to fall over. So we touched on that yesterday. This thing has an 88% hit rate. Okay, things are looking good from that front. We're looking for that dominance to turn over. Now, Milky Bull posted another one today. He's got further information telling us that the dominance top is potentially in here. So he's dropped another chart here, and he hasn't dropped a hit rate amount, but we had 88% yesterday, and he's basically saying things like violent and stuff like that. When a guy says a violent drop in dominance, you got to pay a little bit of attention. Yeah, we got to just look and see what the man has to say. But he's suggesting that this crash down is going to be pretty violent, and that is obviously going to result in these altcoins blowing up. So another notable point there for us. And just one more glance here at the dominance chart. Let's just see where we are. And you can see we are now rejecting at the weekly level. So no changes here just yet. If you look at this on a weekly time frame, naturally these things take a bit of time to play out, but so far so good. We are at rejection zone number 1. This is rejection area number 1, and if that is the top of his move, well, we are at a resistance band. That ties in with what I like to look at, and if that wasn't the exact top and we do push for another week or so, I've got my next level here, 60.4%. I'm looking for that slingshot on those altcoins. For me, that is the ideal situation. For me, that is pushing these alts into a 618, that is pushing these alts into a turbocharged area where we can get some kind of big move out of them. So watching that dominance closely on the weekend, all is looking well. And then total market cap. Now, yesterday I looked at total 2. That was all of the altcoins excluding Bitcoin. That thing was looking relatively bullish. Today I banged out total 3. Okay, this is the entire altcoin market excluding Ethereum. So this is now a closer look at everything excluding the big dog. And you can see there's a little development here on the weekly that is also looking pretty bullish to me at the moment. And you can see we've got some bullish divergence here playing out. This is the oscillator at the bottom starting to print new highs, and we've got the price action starting to print lower lows. Okay, so it looks like things are going to be turning here. A little bit of divergence. That could be a nice little sign for us that things could potentially turn a little bit more aggressive. And you can see we've got this beautiful trend here. So we're not going to get greedy. We're just looking for that push into this resistance area. Anything can happen after that. If we explode after that, well, then we get that violent move, that dominance goes down, and we just party all day. Basically, Ray are going to be fist pumping and banging this bullhorn literally all day. I mean, it's going to be long overdue though, Raymond. It's going to be long overdue. So total 3 looking good. The altcoins are teeing up for something special here. Let's not ruin it. Let's not get Jerome Powell to wreck this for us and put us in a bad mood. So right now things are teeing up nicely, and let's just look at big dog over here, ETH. So no real changes. This is ETH on the weekly. We can see our levels. They are clearly defined here for us. And yesterday we fell just short of our 382. That was 2,480. That is your big support zone. Once again, any dips for me for ETH into this little box, that is 2,480 down to 2,300. Anywhere in that box for me is for buying. Anywhere in that box for me is an opportunity. If your bias is bullish now leading into the next couple of months, for me, that's a massive buy zone. So ETH, no changes there for me with that regard. And then any pumps for me, if we get a push out the market here, look out. 2,800, 2,900, still a danger zone there for me. Looking for a big rejection in that area. 2,800, 2,900 for ETH. So exercise a little bit of caution there. And let's look at Sol.
Why are we exercising caution on the likes? Hold on. Why are we exercising caution on the likes, guys?
Guys, do not exercise likeage caution here. Raymond's going to get upset with you guys. And let's well, I'm losing some of my signal here, Ray. If I am lagging a little bit, just let me know. But here's Sol. And this is Sol on the 12 hour. So I've spent the last 4 or 5 days teeing you guys up for entries on these altcoins. Now, hopefully some of you guys took notes. Hopefully some of you guys paid attention, and hopefully some of you guys got some of your buys in. But Sol was a great example here of our first move. It was remaining patient. We were saying, wait for these 382s, wait for these 618s. Now, we've got Sol pushing into our first 382, and as you can see, we've got our first reaction. So this is what we were teeing up yesterday. So we've got our first line of support on Solana. That is 143 to about 140. So that is now confirmed. We've dipped into this region here. So Sol, all systems go here for me. Any further dips lower for me are for buying here. 130 is what I'm looking at. So if we do get a bleed out now into PPI, into CPI, 130 for me is going to be an add-on zone. This is another DCA zone for you guys. And this leverage trade as well, I've got you guys sorted out. Okay, now I gave you the strategy. I've been feeding you the strategy for the last week, and I think it's working nicely for you guys, and I'm going to continue to do so. So I'm going to repeat what I've done here on Sol, and then I've got one that hasn't played out yet that I think is going to be a great entry for you guys. So just a reminder on what we were looking at when you are trying to scalp. Now, there's two types of entries, right? You get your spot buys where you can DCA on good areas like that 382 fib, the 618, and the lows. And then you get the degens. Now, I know who you guys are, and I know why you are here. And these are the types of entries that we start looking at when we are looking for leverage plays. So what I gave to you guys yesterday was a simple little setup. I was saying we are looking for a move into the 382 typically. Then we start looking for some kind of market structure here, and then we look for some kind of pop, either out of a trend or even some kind of double bottom formation. Look at that. They gave us a little double bottom there formation on Sol, and then we absolutely ripped. So I gave you guys this area yesterday, and this is typically what I do. When I'm looking for a leverage trade, I zoom out, I look at this thing on the daily, we try and see where we are in that area. Is it a hot zone or not? Then we dial in and we start looking for a little bit of action in those zones. And quite often they want to come and give you some kind of stop hunt like they did yesterday. I mean, the previous day, you can see what they did here. They gave a little stop hunt and then they sent this one up. So typically in these zones, this is what you're going to be looking for. So when you melt into these areas, you're looking for these moves. You can see we had a little trend there as well, little pop of that area for Solana. So that is leverage trade number one. That can tee you up for a potential move, and then you bang out your trend and you can start identifying potential targets where this thing can start moving lower. And then typically you're going to look for the same play at your 618. Okay, that could be your next potential area there where you can get a little bit of action, and you're going to look for the exact same game plan in this zone. So typical little 382 and 618 game plan here for you guys when we start looking for bigger moves. And then you zoom out and you take a look on the daily, and then it gives you a nice big picture. So that little 130 zone that I've just shown you here on the daily, this makes perfect sense. If you take a look at this nice little bullish bounce, and then you can dial in and take a look there on the lower time frame, and you can start loading up your leverage trade, and then your play is generally just to the trend. Okay, once you get to that trend, you're tightening up stops, you're raising your stops above your entry, you're doing all these things because at these trends, what do we know? We often get a rejection, or alternatively, this thing can pop through and then give us another long or second long. So generally, when we get that break through the trend, then we can start adding to our trades, and we can start growing the positions, and then we bring our average entry to just below that trend, and then we hit the bullhorn and we celebrate. So that is typically how we're going to play these, how we're going to play this game. And then yesterday I gave you this one on TON, and this is the exact structure that we were looking for on TON. And I'm happy to do this for you guys going forward. Naturally, just let me know in the comments if you enjoy these types of things, and I can give you, I can give you a couple of these every single day that we're watching. So let me know in the chats if this is something you guys want. And here is TON. So let's just look at this one on the big picture, and we zoomed out on the daily. When you're ready, there it is. Okay, so what were we looking for? So yesterday we saw TON was rejecting at a trend. We saw it was rejecting at the 100-day MA. It was rejecting at a horizontal zone. So we knew this was an area of interest here and potentially moving lower. So we had our eyes on this 382 fib, and that was a zone for us. You can see why this was interesting. We had horizontals tied in here for us. We had our 382, and we had this little bleed out. So when we start bleeding out into these zones, this is what we look for. So here's the setup that I gave you guys yesterday. And number one was on the trend. That was the first look we were looking at. So this is where you look around. You look for these moves. You look for these structures in these types of areas. If your first zone fails, then you look at your bangers. And what are my bangers? My bangers are the 382. My bangers are the 618. They give you a great performance more often than not. And when we are looking for an altcoin to bottom for a move, typically it's going to be on a 382 or a 618. Sometimes it's on a 0.5 and things like that. But what I like to look for, 382 and 618. And this was TON yesterday, drifting into our zone. What were we looking for? A little bit of structure here on this 382. And we had a new little indicator we've been playing with, me and DJ and Dave. And this is called the anchored VWAP. And we had a little bit of a tie-in with the anchored VWAP and the 382 and some horizontals here. So that was telling us that we could potentially get some kind of move in this region. And then naturally, there we go. It fired off. So if you're a leverage trader, this is essentially how you can go about limiting your risk as much as possible. You can pick your 2 banger zones, and you can look for some market structure in these areas, and then look for the token to take off. You can obviously dial in like an absolute savage, like this guy. I mean, this guy over here likes 3-minute candles. That's not quite what I'm looking at, but 15 minutes generally does the trick for me. And when you have multiple levels of confluence like we had here, then balance of probabilities, you get some kind of bounce. Okay, so that is effectively what we did with Celestia as well. So we did this on a live session, as a live Sniper Club Zoom session last night, and traded this one on ZoomX. Now remember, guys, there's tons of links in the description. ZoomX is one of my favorite partner exchanges that we are trading with at the moment. You can see they are 4th from the top here, and they literally are giving you $20. Okay, so sign up with ZoomX, and they're going to send you $20 that you can trade with. So make sure you register, you send some money there, and you load up. Okay, so ZoomX is here in the description. There's no KYC as well, so you can get cracking immediately with just an email address, and they're going to fire off $20 there for you guys if you sign up. It's literally as simple as that. You're collecting free money, and hopefully then you can tee up your next trade with me on ZoomX. So look out for that. And right now for me, Celestia, you can see this thing's cooking. It hit about a $1,000 profit just now. I'm just going to monitor this one accordingly. You can see we are testing these highs here. So a little bit of problem, a little bit of an issue at the highs. If we start printing a new lower high over here, I'm probably going to look to start cutting that thing, and we'll see how we go after we'll see how we go after that rejection. But there is something for me on the bigger picture here with Celestia, Ray. We can't ignore this, and I got to get Power Friend here as well. He's going to tell me he's actually going to give us his Celestia trade, because he also shorted this thing yesterday. But let's look at Celestia quickly on the daily, and we can't deny, okay, this thing is potentially turning super, super bullish. Now, Ray, I know you don't want to hear this, bro. But do you want a piece of this? Do you want a piece of Celestia, sir? No.
It's looking good, sir. It's looking good, sir. It is looking good.
Okay, so if you guys like Celestia, okay, we can see what the story is here. This is the typical setup, okay? We've got our pullback onto our 382. We've seen that happen. We do have our 618. Now, this is not out of the window yet, okay? The 618s are not out of the equation. We can't get into some false sense of security because we've had a pump today. Remember, we've got PPI tomorrow. We've got CPI on Wednesday. That could result in a massive sell-off. But I'm watching down here. For me, Celestia, anything to 4.78, okay? Anything in that region. If you are a DCAer, you're a spot trader, things like that, anything down into this area could get a little bit spicy for Celestia. So 5.3, love. 4.8, love. Okay, bullish areas here where you can look to buy, and then some simple targets that you can start identifying for Celestia. Now, remember, this thing got absolutely decimated over the last few months. Remember everyone buying the top of Celestia. I think me and Ray, where did we go long Celestia, bro? I think we went long here, something like that. And then they came and they ended us, and they just absolutely abused this token all the way down. But there's typical targets that you can start looking at here on Celestia. So number one, let's just get our fibs from the high to the low, and you want to just bang out some interesting areas. So your first sort of feasible target, if we get a nice trend break here on Celestia, look, there's a lot in the way, okay? Granted, there's a lot in the way, but if we trade simply to a 382, there's potentially about a 90% move here to the 382 fib and the 200-day MA. But James, what are you saying here? Ray's big mad. What are you doing here? So Celestia target 10.5. Okay, and let's speak to Power Friend here. Because this man using his magic. Okay, now I've got science. He's got magic. Okay, he tells the future, some kind of wizardry. That's it.
Mathematical magic is what it is.
It's astrology for men. Right?
True, right? I call it wall hacks for the charts for those in the gaming environment, right? You just kind of see behind things, and without the indicators on, it's just like, what is this thing? You turn them on, it's like, oh, there he is. Get him around the corner.
It's all magic. Okay, so talk to me about Celestia. So using my own TA, we got a Celestia long yesterday. Tell me what Easy Algo told you, and why did you long this one yesterday? Can I pull up your screen here?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, we had noticed it midweek. It was coming into the monthly pivot. The red one here is the monthly pivot. Once we saw that rejection coming off the top of the monthly, there was a good opportunity down to the middle of the monthly was going to break to the downside, and it did. You see on the daily, we had a super narrow pivot, created that aggressive move into it. And the daily pivot on Sunday actually coincided perfectly with the middle of the monthly pivot. So as soon as we got a candle confirmation, you could take that short, stack up, hit target 1 TP, come down, hit target 2 TP, and then been holding on to it. Once we saw the new weekly pivot come out, though, close the trade, because that is an insanely inside narrow pivot. That is the golden goose. That is the happy moment we want to look on every token. We see a super narrow pivot inside. We call it the inside X, inside of a wide pivot the previous week. That's a sure sign you're going to get an aggressive move that week. And we did bounce right off the daily support 1, and it's broke through, and it's still continuing. It looks like it's retesting off previous day high.
Yeah.
And if we get a good retest there, it's going to go up. It did leave a couple little fair value gaps under here, which we would watch for. That's one of our indicators that lets us know if there's fair value gaps. Be careful, but looking good so far.
Yeah, absolute little banger. Okay, and now you've got one more that hasn't blown up yet potentially. What are we looking at here?
Well, we have, so on the right here, this is our list of our weekly narrow pivots. So this is what we've gone through in the party, and we were able to pick up through the week. You'll see every one of these actually has made an aggressive move. Your 𝗓𝗡𝗅, 𝗓𝗏𝗡, Gala. The gaming narrative this week is looking good actually on all fronts. They all have super narrow pivots. SFP, though, has not made that aggressive move yet. And looking back on it for the past few weeks, it's been a consistent compression. It created a wide, and then it got tighter. And now, just like that Celestia move that we saw in that aggressive fashion where it was an inside pivot, super narrow, you have exactly the same thing happening here. So the trade may not be today because we do see that wide pivot happening here, but it is hanging around in the, once it gets above that daily pivot, above the center of the daily pivot, we'll definitely be looking for longs on that. Ideally, the center of it, we'll wait for tomorrow. Sorry?
Okay. So if somebody was looking at this now as a potential trade, they can't take this trade. What is your, so what are you, how do you confirm it?
Correct. So we're waiting for confirmation to either break above, for it to come and break above the daily pivot, but most likely because the pivot is wide today, you will see a narrow pivot tomorrow. So moving into the daily candle close, 8 p.m. Eastern or 000 UTC, when the new daily pivots will print, the probability is you're going to see a super narrow pivot here coming after it because of the compression. And then once it breaks above that super narrow pivot tomorrow, your trade's going to be tomorrow to the upside, as long as of course, we're going to maintain above the weekly pivot.
Okay. Nice. So guys, there you have it. Okay. There's a little taste of easy algo and what goes on there. So, if you're doing regular TA and you have Confluence and you're looking for something else to give you Confluence, well, here's your thing. Okay. 3-day free trial. Link is in the description. Am I correct? Anything else?
Should be on the top. Yeah. I got a couple things I'd love to mention if you give me the second.
Go.
Yeah, I noticed you mentioned that you had just started to play with the anchored VWAP. Well, we have VWAP-X. That's part of the indicator package. We have in total for TrendX, there is eight total indicators, and today alone we actually introduced a brand new one. It's called Imbalance X. This indicator is designed around fair value gaps and imbalances in the market. I'm not going to say it's a calls indicator, but it's a calls indicator. In back testing for the last 6 weeks, we've got about an 80% accuracy rate on it for entries and exits on longs and shorts. Right now, actually, as we speak in the Discord, Seth is doing a full training and release of the indicator. So if you get in today, you will get access instantly to the new Imbalance X indicator, in addition to TrendX, Indicator X. And I will be live in the Discord for about 2 hours right after that training. So you can jump in, catch a live training tomorrow, and then community day on Wednesday, even on the three day free trial, and get your fill. And I'm pretty sure you're going to want to extend that to a full month.
So we're going to bring this gent back every Monday. I want some easy algo fill every Monday. I want to see if my stuff is tying in with easy algo and we're on the same sentiment. If not, we need to bang our heads and figure out why. And looking forward. We'll see you on Monday again. So guys, you want some more easy algo action, stick around for Monday. Otherwise, link in the description. There is a trial there for you guys. Alternatively, these guys also drop some alpha in the Sniper Club too. So if you want some action of that, you want to see what it's about, occasionally they're dropping some stuff in there for us as well. So there's tons of way to get some exposure there. Power friend, thanks for hanging.
Discord for also, don't forget there's a discount for all you Sniper Club members. Go ahead and hit that Easy Algo section, top of it. You guys get a discount for being a member of Sniper Club. Come on over and join us for a 3-day free trial there as well.
Sweet. Okay, thanks for hanging. We'll see you again on Monday. You guys, you know what to do. Okay, there you go. Some special indicator things. Now let's get back into some of these bangers. I've got one more setup for you guys that I've got tons more charts here, but I've got one more setup that I'm waiting for that I'm going to take on Bitfunded, and we're going to get to that now. I just want to update you guys overall. What have we seen? So before I jump into some of these others, a typical what we've seen in the last couple of days. We've seen a lot of these altcoins have a little pullback. Now remember, the market was hot, it pumped, and nobody knew what to do. Okay, a lot of guys were FOMOing, they didn't know where to buy, what the story was, and now we've seen a massive move down on these altcoins. We've banged 382s, we've banged good solid support areas, and now we're in our first phase of this bounce now off this 382. Now we need to check if these altcoins are now going to continue this downtrend that they're in, or if they're going to just start firing. So CAS is just another example here for you guys. So you can see a couple of things going on with CAS. Number one, okay, this is CAS on the daily. You can see we have a rising trend over here that we've lost. Okay, so CAS is essentially turned bearish. Okay, CAS has lost this rising daily trend, looking a little bit bearish here from charts perspective. Now, what has happened? We've rejected off this major area and we've now bounced off our 382. Now, typically, in a scenario like this, you typically get a bounce, and then perhaps we print a lower high here, we start turning over, and then we get our next bounce at that 618. You could get a situation here where this bounce of the 382 creates another part of your downtrend. Okay, so this is potentially what we're looking at here at the moment. So like I was saying earlier, we can't get euphoric every time we get a little bounce here. We need to be cautious when we push up into some horizontals, because we need to understand that we could be in a downtrend here and they could be sending us to our next big level. So when you are playing with these altcoins, make sure you understand, the theory behind this and what could actually be playing out here in front of you. So right now for me on CAS, you can see on the daily chart, we've bounced. Okay, what have we bounced off? We bounced off a 382. We've bounced off the anchored VWAP that we were talking about earlier. We've bounced off these horizontals, and we've bounced off the 100-day moving average. So there was a ton of confluence in this area telling us that we were most likely, or balance of probabilities, we were going to get a reaction in that zone. And then what did this look like on the lower time frames? Or you can just zoom in again. And let's actually bang out the 1 hour. I think 15 minutes, a little bit extreme. Yeah, we can go 1 hour here for a clean picture. Okay, and typically this is what we've got. So we can see now with CAS on the 1 hour, you can start building a scalper picture for yourselves. You can see you've got big horizontal resistance in the way. That is your 50-day moving average and things like that. So we know that this is a big area. This is a big fight zone now for us every time this pushes up. And what does this tell us? This tells us if we do eventually break that, this is going to be great support for longing at a later stage. Okay, but how do we get there? Okay, you typically get there by looking for longs of some of your key areas. Those key areas that I like are 382s and 618. So let's just add the 618 as well. And you can see what happened now with this dump. We've dropped into the zone. You can see we've pinged the 382. We've got our anchored VWAP here as well. We've got the 100-day moving average. So there was a ton of action in the zone, lots of little prints onto that area, and then eventually we got that bounce. So now what are we looking for? We've got to pay attention here. If we do reject from this area, that makes sense to me. We're rejecting at horizontal, and then we're going to play this exact same game in this region, and we're going to look for some kind of stop hunt as well just below there, and then we're going to look for that move if we do start falling over. So if you did pick this one up off the 382, now's the time. You just tighten up your stop a little bit. Make sure that you are risk-free in your leverage trade, and wait for this to start playing out. When we start breaking horizontals, when we start breaking big areas, that's when you can start looking to add to the position to maybe grow the size. But right now, we sniff around those areas, we look for some structure, and then we look for those types of pops. So right now, DCA vibe, if you are looking for spot buys, this is part of the DCA zone where you're looking. So anywhere in this region from 153 down to 142, leverage traders, you know what to do now. That's the plan. And just look for that type of action. And then I'm going to be looking for this next trade I'm going to be taking this one on Bitfunded. So you can see here, Bitfunded stage 1 is now complete. I did those 2 little nominal trades there just to get through my 5 days. Now stage 2 is now active for me. So now I'm being very patient here. I'm waiting for my next trade here. It's going to be on stage 2. What is Bitfunded? Well, in short, you basically leverage trade with other people's money. What do? You send them $49 or $99. They give you a demo account. Phase 1, get 8% return without losing more than 5%. Phase 2, get 5% return without losing more than 5%. Then they give you a funded account and you keep 80 to 90% of the profit. So it's a good way if you are learning how to chart, if you are learning how to trade, you want to experiment, but you want to use someone else's money or do some paper trading with the demo accounts that they give you. This is where you can start. Okay, this is where you can cut your teeth. This is where you can get rinsed. Okay, using someone else's money. Okay, this is where you can learn all these types of things. So give it a go. There's a link in the description.
OPM. Other people's money.
Other people's money. There we go. That's other people's money. Okay, so you get 8%, you get 5%, then you get OPM. And the link is in the description here. Remember what to do if you haven't watched this before. You sign up to the Bitfunded link here. You can see here it says register. Then you go back and you click on the Bitfunded Dylan. That is your ticket to the challenge. So click that, and then you send through your 49 or your 99, and then you are on your bike. Then you are on your way. Okay, here is my next setup. So this is, you've seen these setups. Sol played out yesterday. Celestia played out yesterday. What was the other one? Ton played out yesterday. There's one more, okay, that I think we're going to get an opportunity on here. And at the moment, this is 𝗬𝗏. So I'm watching this one very closely at the moment. This is 𝗬𝗏. And you would have noticed all these other altcoins. We've hit our 382s. We've hit our 618s. 𝗬𝗏 hasn't gone there yet. Okay, so looking interesting to me. Maybe we're going to get some kind of sweat. And then you can see bigger picture. We are looking at some kind of trend break here. We are looking at a potential move to 600. If we can start cracking this trend and this thing turns bullish again, we could get some big moves out of 𝗬𝗏. So right now, I'm watching this 259 to 260 zone and 222. That's a buy zone for me. Now, degens, here we go. Here's your setup, and this is exactly what you're going to be looking for. This is a very similar setup to all of these ones I showed you: Sol, Celestia, Ton, and all these others. And right now you can see what's going on here. Here's 𝗬𝗏 on the 1 hour, and we are looking for it to push down into this 382 zone. This is 260, give or take, in this area. Why is this interesting to me? Well, number one, we know that 382 is a big reaction zone for us. Number two, we've got this beautiful cluster of horizontals in this region. We know it was resistance there, it was support there before. And number three, we've got this anchored VWAP that we've been playing around with, that we saw an aggressive bounce off from Celestia earlier today as well. So I'm interested here. 260, looking for some kind of action here. What I would suggest, put your alarms on here on TradingView. Very simple game plan. You go to that little plus there on the side. You click plus. You add alarm, and now you can see that alarm is now ready. So if this hits this alarm for me, it's going to ping me, and then I'm going to look at the chart. I'm going to look for the type of reaction we're getting on that zone. Remember, we're looking for some kind of structure here, even potentially some kind of stop hunt in this thing. This could take, it could take a few hours to play out while it sits around in this region here. You want to just watch the zone. This is where you start sniffing, and that's where you're looking for your first bounce. Remember, if this zone fails, that's why you use stop losses and those types of things. You protect your capital, manage your risk. You're going to use a stop here in that area. If you start closing under these types of levels here, 253, 254, then you're most likely going to get a situation where you're going to be playing this game again on that 618. You're going to be looking for that bounce a little bit lower down. So look out for that. Very simple little strategy, and just make sure you have multiple levels of confluence here with these areas. Make sure you have the tie in, and then remember, bigger picture, always just zoom out. Look where you are in the bigger picture, and you can see 𝗬𝗏, for example, at the 618. It's got tons of extra support in this region. Okay, so this whole region down here is a zone of interest for us. And, if we do get some kind of brutal sell-off, I am expecting a bounce here. If we're going to stay bullish anywhere into that zone, we're looking for a bounce. So for me, DCA buys, 259 to 220. Those are great spot zones for us. That's where we reload. That's where we look to buy. Leverage traders, you know what to do now. You've got the strategy. You've got the plan. And, just be safe. Okay, practice. Use things like Bitfunded and things like that. If you're unsure what you're doing, if you know what you're doing, trade these things with me on ZoomX. And there's a link in the description. Let them give you free money. Trade with their money. Okay, let's get into the one that everybody is talking about at the moment. This is Sui. And it's it feels like such a hype thing at the moment. Like, we know crypto is pretty fickle like this, but it takes one big name, two big names, they start talking about it, pumpage, and then everyone forgets about it and they've moved on to fucking render or whatever it is next week. Okay, so we know how this works. Okay, and here you can see 𝗬𝗎 is now what's it say? Mindshare for 𝗬𝗎 is 8 times higher than usual. Okay, now why could this be? Why would it be? Okay, well, number one, we know 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏 has just been speaking about it. Okay, this tweet alone got 246,000 views. I think 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏's tweet got something like 300,000 views. I mean, Uncle's even talking about it on his show, I believe. So, you know, 𝗬𝗎's getting tons of attention at the moment. Now, no one's taking away that it's fundamentally could be amazing. Okay, but is it so much more amazing than Solana? Is it so much more amazing than AVAX and all these types of things? Again, we'll leave that up to the researchers and the fundamental guys. But I'm just saying, from a price action perspective, let's just be like rational here and see what is going on. And 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗥 says, give us a trade in Bitfunded. Yes, I've given you one. That is the one I've just teed up here for you guys. That is what we're going to be waiting for. We're waiting for that tower entry, guys. Okay. Back to 𝗬𝗎. So, okay, number one. So 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏's been talking about this thing, and I mean, Andrew Kang's given a little bit of a view as to what he thinks is going on there, and then something else to note about 𝗬𝗎. Okay, we've got a token unlock. Again, I wanted to just dig around and see how bad is this token unlock. And it's actually not that bad. It's $59 million. In the grand scheme of things, it's not an absolute banger, like absolute killer. It's 2.4% of supply. Okay, so that is interesting. But I mean, 𝗬𝗎, come on. At some point, this thing's got to fall over. So I've become a little bit addicted to trying to short this thing.
Can we bring the man on and see what he has to say about 𝗬𝗎?
Power friend, you want to talk to us about 𝗬𝗎? Talk to us about 𝗬𝗎.
Love to. Well, if you notice it, if you share my screen, we called that it was going to have an aggressive move at the beginning of the month. It super narrow monthly pivot, so it's going to see attention before all the news, before everybody started talking about it. We knew it. If you shorted off the monthly, come down, hit that resistance. As soon as you broke that weekly into the monthly, there was the pump. If you look at today's daily pivot, same deal. We're above the weekly. It broke that daily pivot. You could go along with it. I didn't watch the news. I'm not aware of 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏, and we don't care. We trade the chart and the indicator, and it tells me right here, just like Cast last time we talked, it's going to be accurate. It's going to nail it, and off it goes.
Okay, so shorty yet? Are we at resistance?
No, you're above the weekly. You do not short this. Do not short this at all. Do not.
What if there's divergence? Then what?
Okay, you got.
If anything, if you want to short, again, it's against our rules policy over at Easy Algo is if you're above the weekly pivot, you go long and long only. You do not reversal trade. Cool. But yeah. I would say if you're DGen, you're looking for that first level of resistance 2, which is going to be 1.2649, or resistance 3, 1.5685 on the weekly. And these are targets that we would go for in trading it as our set targets for how we trade for these. These are targets for us to TP. So it being that aggressive, super narrow weekly, super narrow monthly like that, you could see it run to that 1.259. Okay,
so Easy Algo sending this thing to the moon. Okay, let me just give you my view. Okay, let me just give you my opinion. So I can't with a straight face tell anybody to long this thing here. Okay, number one, I think we agree on that. Okay?
You missed the trade.
We're not longing this thing. Okay, you missed the trade. Okay,
you missed it.
Okay, we agree. We agree. So please, guys, don't fucking open a long year.
I opened up 100x. Come on, man.
Well, right, 3-minute candle. I mean, come on. Okay, so we agree on that. Let me just give you some facts here and some information in front of me. Okay, number one, look at the daily RSI at the bottom. Now, this is just, this is like a momentum type indicator here at the bottom. This is the RSI. Okay, what happened when the RSI peaked in these areas and these type of levels here over the last, till December 23? Okay, when we hit these levels, what do we get? Rejection. Okay, we hit these levels again here. When was this? January, rejection. We hit these levels here. This was February. Okay, rejection again. Okay, you're getting the picture. We hit these levels in March. Okay, rejection again. Okay, so if you are trying to open a long today on 𝗬𝗎, you are opening a long where these guys were opening longs. Okay, and you are at risk of this thing turning over. Okay, now what could turn this thing over? Number one, It could naturally turn over if the rest of the market remains bullish. Okay, people trading SUI could say, okay, this horse is now dead. Okay, let's move on to the next narrative. And then SUI's going to lose interest, and it's naturally just going to not move up as nicely as some of the other alts. It might even actually just start falling over. Number two, the market could start collapsing on PPI tomorrow or CPI on Wednesday. And then you're going to be left holding the top of the SUI bag. Okay, so remember, this thing can fall over. So what am I looking for here, and why am I interested in shorting this thing? Well, number one, we've got big horizontals in play. Okay, so we can see that. That is clear as day here in front of us. So we've got big horizontals here, and you can see right now, SUI's actually rejecting at a horizontal. So we're not being clever. We're not throwing out 50 different things. We're just literally using a horizontal level here, and you can see SUI is banging into resistance now. That is a warning bell. Okay, that is a warning sign that's telling you, just be careful here up in this area. So what am I looking at here? I would say this thing has to get some kind of pullback, has to get some kind of retracement before this thing can load up again. Naturally, I could be wrong, but when I look at these types of zones, I start looking at areas of interest and rejection areas. So I would say if SUI wants to be a little bit more aggressive, I think it's got one more push in it. And that push for me is going to be a fake out into that 200-day MA, and then this thing is going to fall over. So if it's got one more push there, I'm looking for that. And where did you see that type of move? Look at BTC, okay? A fake out into the 200-day moving average. Look at that thing. Faked out into the 200-day moving average and a big rejection. And for me, I would expect something similar to that. Okay, so I've tried a short here in this region here. Let's see what happens if it pumps up there. If it hits this 200-day MA and I get stopped, I'm probably going to try again in that zone. And then we're going to have a typical little move here. And our TPs are just going to be nice little areas of confluence. Okay, so number one, if it rejects right here, where it is right now, okay, your simple target here on some kind of short play is 0.868. Okay, that's such a nice little juicy zone. And that's going to be a long zone. Okay, look how nice this area is. I actually can't deal with how nice this area is. We got horizontals, we got 382, we got the 100-day moving average. There's even that anchored VWAP sitting there as well. So if we do get some kind of pullback here, for me, that's a long zone. This is where you're reloading anywhere in that area for me on SUI, and then also down at 71. So reload zones, if this thing pulls back, 8685 and 71. Both of these areas are bull zones for me. Both of these areas are potential buy zones. What I'm suggesting here, look out. Look how overbought this RSI is currently here at the bottom. I just want to highlight that for you. So exercise caution. If there's going to be a trade here, most likely it's going to be some kind of short. And remember, you aren't the cleverest guy in the room, and I'm not the cleverest guy in the room. And people see this type of thing, and everyone starts trying to short this thing. Okay, so understand that as well. There's this thing called a short squeeze. When the whole world thinks they're super smart and they're trying to short this thing, well, you could be a statistic, okay? So you know that you know you've had the warnings. We're above the weekly pivot, as Power Friend has just told you. What I do like is we're below the 200-day. We're below resistance. This thing is pumped. And for me, I'm looking for some kind of action here. So that is my current game plan on SUI. If we do catch this thing, we're not looking for much. We're looking for that 382 bounce. And, you know, that could be anything from about a 20% move. Okay, let's see how that plays out. And, you know, wish us well. Wish us luck there, Ray. Are you going to short this thing with me?
Possibly.
Possibly.
Yes.
No, Ray. It's a yes or a no.
Possibly.
It's not possibly. Okay. Okay, well, that's the game plan. Okay, remember, we long from 86, 87. We're looking for longs there, and anything, you know, final pumps here into that region. Just be careful there. You understand where the 618 is. You understand where some of these moves are. So if you are trying shorts, make sure you're looking for that higher, that lower high gets printed there. Make sure you're banging stops under that lower high. So you're going to dial into the 15 minutes. Remember the deal. You're going to get a pump, some kind of pump. Then you want to see some kind of lower high there, and you can start banging your stops and just de-risking a little bit as this thing turns over. Okay, so have a bit of fun there, Fahad. Let's see how that goes. And yeah, you can see I've opened that short. I've started that short there on SUI. Let's see how it goes. Let's see if I'm going to get ended, and we'll manage this thing. We'll manage this thing appropriately as we go. Okay, a couple more for you, Popcat. I just wanted to show you guys this update for you. Typical move yesterday, and this was exactly the same game plan as all of these other altcoins. And, you know, 382 bounce for us. Look at this, 5159, Popcat for me, 382 bounce, 100-day moving average. Now we are at a critical stage here. You can see we are at resistance here. Now we need to exercise a bit of caution. We know support 5159. We're watching that zone, and you remember the game plan. If we lose this area, we're playing around at this 4150 zone. That is going to be our next potential bounce zone. But if you're sitting in PopCat right now, your big support 5159, and your only trade options for me right now are a move lower down, or alternatively some kind of trend break here on lower time frame. So what you can do is look at it this way. Let's just pull this one out. Oh, this thing's lagging here. Hold on. They're not giving it to me. Hold on one sec here. Okay, there we go. You're looking at something along these lines. You can see we've got a little trend here at play on PopCat. Now remember, when you start playing the trend breaks, you've missed the banger entry. The banger entry is always these moves down onto these solid zones. These are where you start sniffing around. These are where you look for your golden entries there that give you these types of moves. If you are playing that type of trend break, then you are a little bit behind the curve. Okay, remember, a lot of guys are getting these trades here on these big horizontals, on these good zones like the VWAP, the 382s, the horizontals, the MAs, all these types of things. So what you can do here is look for some kind of move. You can see this thing has broken trend. So right now, your only potential trade here is support at 55, or you're looking at your support at 515. Okay, these are your potential bounce zones at the moment that you'll be looking at. Let's just clean this thing up. It's looking like an absolute mess here. Jeez, I've drawn these things like an old doctor. Okay, there we go. That is what you're kind of looking at. Those are your only sort of feasible little bounce plays at the moment. And for me, watching this 51 region, you lose that guy, then we've got our big one lower down at 42. Guys, remember the deal, and thank you for those that did leave your charts, or you left your tokens in the chats for me, and we've tried to cover now a couple of them. Remember what to do in the comments after the show. Drop the tokens you want to see. Me and Ray look through these every day, and then we make sure we try and incorporate a few of them in the show every day. So after the show now, in the comments, drop the tokens you want. We've run out of time. I did have 3 more bangers for you, but the clock has ticked and it's over. Guys, PPI tomorrow, big day. You've got the strategy, you've got the plan. I think I can leave here knowing you guys know what to do, and just be safe out there. Don't over leverage, don't over trade. We'll see you tomorrow.